Good morning, podcasters, YouTubers, fans, friends, followers, people just genuinely interested in learning and thinking and acting differently. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you in advance for sharing, liking, commenting. These podcasts are just musings, really. They're little moments of inspiration, thoughts, basically feeding back to you through life's experiences, things that happen to us, with us, around us, through client engagement, through things that we read, see, feel, experience, because they're common. They're extremely common things. So today's theme is about beware of the story that we tell ourselves. Beware of the stories, not just a story, but the stories that we tell ourselves. So the brain is a funny thing. It doesn't really know. The subconscious mind, which is kind of 95% of the brain's power, the superpower of the human brain. And we know very little, even still to this date, about the sheer grasp of the power of the mind and what we can achieve. But in the 95%, in the areas that we do know. So let's just talk about the unconscious mind, which is the supercomputer. And it doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. Your brain just works exceptionally hard at trying to prove what it already knows or what it already believes it knows based on information that's already been fed. So it's looking for confirmation of the beliefs that it already holds. And that's based on what you've tuned into, what you've allowed in, and what you've sent through to your kind of filing cabinet, which is your supercomputer. So I always kind of talk about this when I talk to friends about it, and when I do talks at conferences and stuff. I always liken it to a CD. Now, I'm a massive fan of music. I love music, and I've got an eclectic taste range of music, everything from Ludovic Gennaro to heavy metal and stuff. And anyone that's been on our events will know the kind of ranges that we play and stuff of different types of music, and to get the atmosphere up and down and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, imagine just having the one CD to play for the rest of your life. Imagine just playing that one CD on loop, not even on shuffle, just on loop. Track 1 to track 11, track 1 to track 11. Slowly but surely, you learn every single line, every single bar, every single note, every single word. You'd know the gaps in between track 1 and track 2, what song comes next, and you'll be singing it. For a while, it will be great because it's new and it's exciting and it's enjoyable and you're learning something. And then it becomes a bit repetitive and a bit dull and a bit grey and a bit samey. So you wouldn't stay with the same CD. You wouldn't stick with the same song, the same album. You have the power of choice, which is pop out the CD and pop another one in. Change the information that you're putting in. You've got the control, the power to do that. So exactly the same thing for the stories that we tell ourselves and the way that we feel about stuff. And a lot of these labels that get associated with us, be wary of these labels that we either give ourselves or we get given and gifted by others. I'm hearing a lot at the moment going into lockdown too. Words like, oh, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. And this isn't being dismissive of anything to do with mental health and mental well-being and mental illness in any way, shape or form, because that's some serious stuff. And I'll put some links in this podcast for pages and organizations that you can link out to start the conversation, because I'm a big fan of having that conversation and reaching out, because one phone call can change a life and save a life. One conversation can change a life and save a life. But beware of the stories that we tell ourselves. It's so easy to fall into the trap of, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. And I am that unreasonable friend that will go, okay, cool. What is it that's causing the overwhelm? Oh, everything. Okay. So if you could give me specifically what triggered it. And then we start working back through the conversation. We start trying to just have a conversation around understanding what that means, where it came from, where it began, where the feeling was first recognized, the awareness of that overwhelm. And sometimes we discover that the overwhelm is nowhere near what they believe it to be. Sometimes we discover that the overwhelm isn't overwhelm. It's just a very easy way to deflect from other things. So controversially, as I said, when I turn the mirror to people as a coach, and I ask them to look in that mirror and I ask them to have some seriously honest conversations about how they're feeling, what they're doing, what they're getting versus what they want and all that sort of stuff. what they want to achieve versus what they're actually doing and stuff. So I want to lose weight. Okay. What are you doing about that? Well, nothing. And it sounds really silly, but it's scarily common that people are not doing the activities and the disciplines. They're not building their days, their weeks, their months, their quarters, their years in line with what they tell themselves at a certain level that they want. So they're not kind of showing up enough in their life to really, really want it. They're not making it serious enough. So they're not creating the habits and the disciplines to even make it possible. But it's easy to then go, well, yeah, that feels like a lot to do. So I'm just feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Well, okay, what are your choices? What are your options? Staying where you are is one. Finding a way to get support and change is another. But realistically, that's kind of it. Stay as you are or change. For a lot of people, change is scarier. We talk about this a lot because change is unknown. But imagine staying as you are for the next 15 years. If you are worried about something, if you are concerned about something, if you're feeling anger, frustration, jealousy, resentment, guilt, whatever, imagine those feelings, which are kind of destructive emotions. Imagine staying in that space where you never get away from that. That's that feeling of drowning. That's when overwhelm really, really kicks in, because you're not doing anything to feel differently. You're not changing anything to make anything better. You're kind of sitting back and allowing it to happen to you and hoping that some miracle will come over the hill to save you. And the harsh reality is we have to save ourselves. We have to have the courage to dig in and go, let's get honest. Let's get real. Is it really overwhelmed? What am I overwhelmed by? What am I feeling stressed out by? What am I doing to alleviate the stress? How can I operate better? How can I build time in to recharge? How can I learn to rest but not quit? You know, I talk with business owners daily, and we're busy people. You know, we run around like sometimes headless chickens, trying to run all the elements of the business and stuff and team and all these kinds of stuff, marketing and accounting. And it's a lot of work, not always appreciated unless you're doing it. You don't necessarily realize. And when you first get into business, you don't necessarily realize. And no one gets into business to become good at running a business. They get into business because they can't work for that knobhead of a boss. They want to create their own destiny and control their own destiny, or do all these kind of lovely things. Or they just might lay like mending watches, right? But everything that comes with running a business causes that overload of work. And if we're not building habits to tackle the work, if we're not building habits into tackle the marketing, tackle the accounting, dealing with customers, dealing with suppliers, if we're not carving up our time effectively, we are effectively inviting that stress and inviting that overwhelm in till it gets to a point that someone's just keep filling that. So if you look at like overwhelm in the dictionary, it talks about drowning or being buried in a deep feeling of overwhelm, of suffocation, you know, of being buried alive, that kind of feeling. Well, just changing one thing, just effectively looking at what we can do differently, properly getting honest and stepping back and going, what am I doing to create this? What can I do differently? How would I like to feel at the end of the day? How would I like to feel when I put my head on the pillow at night? How can I change my state? What could I do to effectively breathe better? Big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feet flat on the ground. Posture, sitting up. Water, drinking plenty of it. You know, even during the winter months, it's so easy to drink water in the summer, but in the winter months, making sure we're keeping our water intake up. Looking at the sleep patterns and stuff and not pressurizing ourselves to get 6 hours sleep or 7 hours sleep or 8 hours sleep, but getting sleep, good quality sleep, and building that sleep pattern up and turning off our screens, reading, meditating, yoga, mindfulness, coloring in, playing with the kids. What is it you can do to just remind yourself that you need looking after as well? Because if you look at it right now, if you get really honest and look at yourself and go, am I treating myself the best way? A great way to look at it is, If you were your very best client, would you treat your very best client this way? And if the answer is no, then I suggest the first place we look at, what are the stories that you're telling yourself? I'm not good enough. I'm not a very good business owner. I'm not good at marketing. I don't really do sales. I don't really like this. I'm not a runner. I'm not good at the gym. I can't write copy. I'm not very good in front of the camera. What are the stories that you're telling yourself that are creating limiting beliefs that are holding you back, that are compounding and compounding and compounding, and effectively helping you get to that exact destination that you're telling yourself you want to avoid? You're telling yourself without real commitment that you want to avoid. So, what are the stories that you're telling yourself? What are the limiting beliefs that are holding you back? How are you fueling them and feeding them? I remember there was I can't remember the full analogy, but it's the old Indian proverb and stuff of a young brave that asked the Indian chief, there are two wolves, one is anger, one is love. Which one wins? And it's something along the lines of the Indian chief says, well, it depends on which one you feed. And it's really simple, but it's pretty effective in terms of what are the thoughts and the feelings that you're feeding? What are the emotions that you're feeding? Are they positive emotions? Are they constructive emotions that help you put yourself back on your feet, build your self-esteem, build your confidence, resilience, enable you to step up? Or are they those limiting beliefs that hold you back, slow you down, build doubts, fears, crippling stories that we tell ourselves? So I'm going to pop some links in underneath, including my phone number, because if you want to contact me directly and have a conversation about this, whether you agree, disagree, or it's just touched a nerve, or it's raised a question in you that you'd like somebody to talk to and just talk it through and bounce some ideas off. And maybe, just maybe, I can help you rebalance so you can take on today. Because taking on today is a step forward to taking on tomorrow. And then today and tomorrow becomes 2 days, becomes 3 days, 4 days, becomes a week, a month, a year. And you start to take back control of your life through creating habits and disciplines that serve you, that create stories and beliefs that protect you and serve you and develop you and inspire you and motivate you to think and act differently. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate you listening. And start the conversation. Don't suffer in silence. Beware of those labels, yours and other people's.